Welcome back. All right, so as things heat up here, it's going to be hot for the next few days, so don't be surprised if you hear a fan running at my feet over the next few days. But it's always interesting to me too that as soon as I post videos, like no, he's going to regret posting that video now because now other guys have signed contracts. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Should I just not make videos for the next 3 days? But what I'll do, I'm going to go through all four divisions, and then tonight I can do an updated look at other signings since then, something along those lines. So yeah, now we're into the Pacific Division, and again, this is at the time where I'm recording this. The Anaheim Ducks, not active, as we would have expected them not to be. For Anaheim, this isn't the year. So they re-signed Getzlaf. He's staying in Anaheim, but again, I don't show re-signings on the board. I just go with new players to new teams. Starting off with Trevor Lewis signed to a one-year deal, $800,000 by the Calgary Flames. Like that, bottom six player, decent veteran player. Blake Coleman, 6 years at $4.9 million. It's a lot of money. What Coleman and Gaudreau have shown with their massive contracts, adding up to over $8 million in cap hit between the two of them, is that being on a team that wins back-to-back Stanley Cups will get you more money. And this is part of the reason why it is tough in a salary cap era to keep a team together that has a lot of success. I always refer back to the Chicago Blackhawks of 2010 and beyond, and it's true. Once you're seen as a winner, your asking price goes up. And I can agree with that. I also do wonder, will Coleman's contract age well? Will this be one we look back on a couple years from now and say, it might be an overpayment of a bit? But again, Coleman had a very good playoffs, and he was an important part of the Tampa Bay Lightning and their Stanley Cup win this year as well as last year. So we'll see how it goes. Edmonton, of course, Cody Ceci joining the team, 4 years at $3.25 million per season. Now, as I've said in recent videos, if he plays the way that he did in Pittsburgh, that may be okay. The term may be where the stumbling block is. The actual cap hit may end up being okay, but $3.25 million might be okay, but 4 years, it's a lot. So for CC, he's betting on himself. He and Barry have played together before, so that may be how they're looking at it. Is we've brought back Barry, we're bringing in Cody CC, and we'll play them together, right? Zach Hyman, of course, also comes in from the Toronto Maple Leafs. 7 years, $5.5 million per season. It is exactly the term and the cap hit that was expected for Zach Hyman. So Edmonton, it's an expensive offseason. Bringing in Keith, and with some of the losses they've gone through, again, in 2 to 3 weeks' time, I'll start doing season previews, and we'll take a look at who they've lost, who they've gained, and how their depth chart looks right now in Edmonton. The LA Kings, a couple of interesting moves here, veterans being brought in. The LA Kings likely wanting to make a step forward this year in the standings, and this may help. Alex Edler added from the Vancouver Canucks at 1 year for $3.5 million. Edler is not the player he used to be, but on a 1 year contract for $3.5 million, that's fine. He's stuck on 99 goals, so if somebody in LA can feed him that 100th goal, that would be nice. The one fear I had at the end of the year was that he was going to end up retiring this year and that he'd retire with 99 goals. Who knows? Maybe that's part of the reason he came back. He's like, I cannot retire with 99 goals. Philippe Deno signs a 6-year deal at $5.5 million per season. That's a solid pickup for the Kings. Their center spot now is a very strong one, and as was mentioned in the live stream that we had today, this may allow Velarde to play on the right side. Absolutely. This does allow for Velarde to probably play on the wing, probably with Deno, and he may very well be a good instructor for Velarde, who I think has a good future as a two-way forward in the game and a pretty good 200-foot player, and we'll see whether or not that's at center or on the wing. So San Jose was not quiet today either. James Reimer comes in as their goaltender. Remember, they bought out Martin Jones. 2 years at $2.25 million per season. Reimer was a Shark before, wasn't he? So we'll see how things go with Reimer. They still have Aiden Hill. It's going to be quite the different tandem. A lot of goalies shuffling around the league this year. Nick Bonino, 2 years at $2.05 million per season. Solid pickup. Good veteran player. Not much wrong to say with this one. And Andrew Cogliano, 1 year at $1 million. It's too bad he didn't stay in Dallas, to be honest. I like Cogliano, but I understand that it's, these things happen in sport, and I wish him all the best in San Jose. I really do. Then Seattle. I used the bigger logo for Seattle than the others. Seattle really kind of wedged their way in here. So coming out of the expansion draft, a lot of people complained about the money they didn't spend, all these guys they didn't pick, and all this. And some of the guys that they didn't pick have since been bought out or moved for not much. So Jaden Schwartz signs a 5-year deal for $5.5 million per season and talks about his experience in the city of Seattle, which led to him wanting to play for Seattle. So Jaden Schwartz already feels close to the city as it is. Philip Grubauer, who the Avalanche were discussing contract with this morning, ends up signing in Seattle 6 years, $5.9 million per season. 2 of the 3 Vezina finalists have been traded. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Vasilevsky, the third of the finalists for the Vezina Trophy, will not be traded. Fleury traded. Grubauer not traded, but he leaves as a free agent, right? Yeah. So free agent, and so 2 of the guys who are up for the Vezina are not on their team that following October. That has to be a rarity if that's ever happened before at all. So Grubauer means that Seattle has a solid tandem. They have Drieger, they have Grubauer, and on Sportsnet they talked about how, hey, it seemed like Drieger was being built up as the starter. Yes, he was the face of the franchise at their big reveal, but with Grubauer, this gives you a solid tandem. Grubauer can play about 50 games, Drieger can play about 32, and if something happens to Grubauer, if he gets hurt, Drieger can step in. So Vanacek likely will be on the move. I would expect to trade with Vanacek before training camp, but who knows? We'll see what happens. Somebody around the league may very well be looking for a goaltender. In fact, maybe you call Joe Sakic and say, look, I feel kind of bad I took Grubauer from you, so what's Vanacek worth to you? Alex Wenberg signs a 3-year deal at $4.5 million. So that's $15 million plus on these 3 guys on your cap. With Wenberg and Schwartz, it adds that offensive depth. With Grubauer, it improves your goaltending tandem. And again, referring back to some of the footage I was watching, some of the coverage I was watching after the live stream ended, I do think that Seattle's going to be in the mix for a playoff spot, but I think they have a legit shot at a playoff spot right now. In the Pacific, I do. I think that with that blue line, now with their goaltending, and with some of the forwards they're adding, I don't think they're going to be pushovers for anybody. I'm not sure how many goals they score. I will agree that goal scoring might be a problem for Seattle, but they may very well be able to win a bunch of games 1-0 and 2-1. So we'll see. Keep your eyes peeled for that. And for Colorado fans, it has to be frustrating. Grubauer, you watch him develop and have a fantastic season, and now he's gone for nothing in return, right? Vancouver, very busy day for Vancouver, so I went with Vancouver gear because other than one that I would say is a mild overpayment, pretty smart moves made here. So Phil DiGiuseppe comes in for 1 year at $750K. And I have said for the last 2 years, Vancouver was overpaying their bottom 6. They've learned their lesson. Nick Patan, 1 year at $750,000 as well. So they seem to have learned that lesson about not overpaying their bottom 6. And of course, not on the board, Brandon Sutter comes back on a very team-friendly contract as well. Luke Schenn, 2 years at $850,000 per season. I'm glad Luke Schenn is coming back to Vancouver. I'm very glad he got Stanley Cup rings in Tampa, but I'm going to enjoy seeing him on the ice again. He had some chemistry with Hughes last time he was here. And the blue line was improved as well. Tucker Poolman, 4 years, $2.5 million. Jim Benning praising his length. Anyways, Jim Benning very impressed with Poolman and seems to have visions of him in the top 6, which at $2.5 million per season, I see that as an overpayment for Poolman. However, as a third pairing blue liner, it's not too bad. And of course, they brought back Hamonic. Again, that's not on the board. It's a re-signing. Brady Keeper comes in 2 years at a cap hit of $762,500. So Keeper is a keeper, I guess. 2-year deal. Yaroslav Halak, 1 year at $1.5 million. Interesting detail that's come out since this signing. When Benning was asked, he said that Ian Clark, who is of course the god of goaltenders here in Vancouver, both for team and for fans alike, apparently he said that Halak was the goalie he wanted. So Vancouver went out and got Halak because Ian Clark wanted Yarrow and felt he could work with him. So the fact that the goalie coach is saying that's the guy that we need in order to work with him, yeah, all right. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. His numbers weren't awful by the end of the year in Boston, but he was the number 3 behind Swayman and Rask. So we'll see if he can turn things around in Vancouver. But it's just a 1-year contract. And Sheldon Dries, who's an interesting, again, depth guy, 1 year, $750,000, has some NHL experience. And for Vancouver, they just seem to have gone all in on getting cheaper bottom 6. I was mildly surprised they didn't bring back Jace Hawryluk. That being said, I would think he'd still be out there probably later on too. But yeah, so Dries is also signed. Vegas picks up 2 players. They pick up Sven Baertschi, 1 year at league minimum, $750,000. I hope, as well as I think most Vancouver fans will hope too, that Baertschi gets his game back. Baertschi's had a rough last couple of years. I would love to see him really take advantage of a change of scenery and get that game back to where it was. I don't know if he can, but I would be happy for him if he did. And Laurent Brossoit, 2 years at $2.325 million, has the unenviable task of being in a tandem with Leonard when Vegas fans are going to be upset that he's not, and Leonard is not, Marc-Andre Fleury. So for Brossoit, he goes from what's a high-pressure situation in Winnipeg to a high-pressure situation in Vegas as well, for completely different reasons. So there you go. Let me know which moves you like from today and which moves you don't in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Which of these contracts will turn out to be an overpayment and which one's a huge deal? Let me know what you think about that as well. I went with my Quinn Hughes jersey here because it looks like they brought in a lot of support and help on the blue line, which will help Quinn Hughes and all that. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I will talk to you again soon.